Welcome to I Said What I Said. I'm Brad Wakai. That's Tyson Gentry. This is our part 2 of the bowl game previews. Now, this is one of the biggest ones. This will be the biggest one that we do all bowl season long. And so we're not going to do too many pleasantries, just a little housekeeping. We reacted to the first round of the college football playoff. Go listen to that if you want to hear our thoughts. We kind of teed off on a little bit of the personalities that are talking about this thing. But we will do a little pleasantry. Tyson, how's the early part going for you in bowl season? Are you ready for the meat and potatoes of this thing?
I'm having fun watching the games. I'm getting to learn about like 50 players on each team that I am unfamiliar with. So that's the beauty of the transfer portal. But we tried to handicap as best we could with some of this portal stuff. It is so hard, man. And this one we're going to get into today it's pretty big. There's 17 games really in this window, so we're not going to maybe give you the deep dive that you're hoping for, but we will talk about them.
Absolutely. And so let's start here. Pittsburgh versus Toledo in the Game Above Sports Bowl. That is going to take place December 26th, 2 p.m. Eastern. This is going to be in Detroit at Ford Field. So you're going to be in a dome. Now, here's where things get interesting, right? Because we got to have the opt-outs. We got the bowl or the transfer portal, all of that good stuff. And so here's what we're looking at here. For Toledo, one of their wide receivers in the portal, and they got the tight end, another wide receiver, safety, defensive tackle, who are potentially opting out. That it hasn't happened yet. On the flip side for Pitt, 2 of their defensive tackles, their wideout, their center, their linebacker, their corner, their defensive end, and their backup QB is in. The transfer portal, and their wide receiver is opting out with the potential for their tight end. So, Tyson, Toledo, we know the MAC struggles. Pittsburgh, we know, can sometimes win these games. What are you expecting here?
Yeah, I think this one might be – I know it's in a dome, but it might be a little bit of a slog here, a low-scoring games, kind of what I'm envisioning. I think Pittsburgh has the advantage in the trenches here, but you mentioned like the backup quarterback being in the portal. If Holstein's still banged up, they got like one quarterback on the roster, and then we'll see how that affects things as far as maybe somebody else is looking around going, I don't really need to play in this football game. I'm going to jump into the portal too, so that's something to monitor. Toledo's offense was really stinky this year, and they ended the season on a 2-game losing streak, which is something to keep in mind as well. Muted.
This mute thing, I'm sorry, guys. I got my headphones all busted up, so we're going to try to make this work. So we'll try to do this here. I'll be quick. Eli Holstein, starting quarterback for Pittsburgh, should be playing. That's at least what Pat Narduzzi thinks. Same with their starting running back as well. So that's something to keep in mind. Tyson, let's move along here. The Rutgers taking on Kansas State. This is in the Rate Bowl, Chase Field in Phoenix. So that's an interesting look. A little baseball stadium. Normally get it on the East Coast, but this is in my neck of the woods. The big question mark here that everybody's wondering, what happens with Kyle Monagai, the star running back for Rutgers? He could potentially opt out. He apparently is here based on his Instagram posts. So discussions ongoing with whatever, transfer portals. You want to go to the NFL, who knows? Only 3 people in the transfer portal for Rutgers. That's a huge sign for them, but there's other opt-outs. Could be a starting cornerback, their safety, and their linebackers. So that's something to keep in mind here. For Kansas State, this is huge. Their running back, DJ Giddens, declared for the draft. Their cornerback, Jacob Parrish, declared for the draft. So you got 2 of their best players. Now Avery Johnson's going to be playing. Their starting right tackle, starting wide receiver are in the portal. So this is an interesting look. Kansas State underperformed. Rutgers always plays hard. What are you looking for here?
Yeah, I think this is a pretty cool coaching matchup to get in a bowl that otherwise doesn't mean a whole lot. Kyle Monagai being there on Instagram and it still being up in the air is the most 2024 sentence I think you could utter. So that's a nice way to end the year here. This is going to be a physical football game. This is a program in Rutgers that I think had pretty much the season you would expect. I can't really call it like a benchmark year for them. I thought that they were good, and that was what we expected preseason, and Kansas State didn't end up where they wanted to be. So maybe it's time to, test out some of these guys, climbing in the boys, figure out how you're going to handle this thing next season.
Interesting matchup on paper. Rutgers 38th in EPA per rush, 47th in EPA per dropback, actually. And they got 8th in Kaliak-Manis, somebody who's familiar with the offensive system they run. Against a defense that's 26th in EPA per rush, 33rd in EPA per dropback. Now, again, if Monagai doesn't go, that vastly changes the profile of Rutgers. On the flip side, Rutgers defense actually struggled at times against the rush, 91st in EPA, 56 in EPA per dropback. Without Giddens for Kansas State, that's going to be tough because they're 18th in EPA per rush, 19th in EPA per dropback. So going to back up, fill in that void. It's going to be hard. I think he's a legit NFL guy. Tyson and I will talk about him in our prep. I think maybe fifth round, sixth round guy.
He's going to get close, I think, for us. He might be an honorable mention, but he's a good player.
He is. So that's something to keep an eye on there. Arkansas State, the Bowling Green, that is going to wrap up the December 26 games in the 68 Ventures Bowl. I'm just laughing thinking about that. Arkansas State versus Bowling Green. This is going to be in Mobile, Alabama. Nice stadium, too, in Hancock-Whitley. That's 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Tyson, Bowling Green was supposed to be a little darling for ours on the MAC, and it didn't quite work out that way at Arkansas State. And your boy, Butch Jones, still coaching his ass off down there.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like this whole thing is coming down to like, is Harold Fanning going to play? And that seems to be, that's another guy that we're going to talk about. He's Bowling Green tight end, and he will for sure be on our top 5 list when we get to the tight end this offseason. He was huge. He is huge as well. But Bowling Green, like, what a confusing season. They almost beat a couple Big Ten teams. They're giving Penn State a scare for 40 minutes of a football game, and then they find themselves here, playing in the 6 win off basically with Arkansas State. This is going to be a weird game because both these guys have some starters in the portal, tackles, linebackers, all that stuff. And these are 2 physical football teams. So I'm not totally sure what to expect here. Anytime that you get these matchups, you can kind of look at it and go, oh, this might be an over spot. But with all this portal stuff, I have no idea.
I know. And you mentioned that starting right tackle, starting linebacker for Arkansas State are in the portal. Their first team, for Bowling Green, excuse me. How about this? Signed with Kentucky, signed with Kansas, and their running back, Terrion Stewart, who's a stud. All 3 of those guys are first-team All-MAC. Signed with Virginia Tech. Defensive tackles in the portal, cornerback, left tackle. Now, he hasn't played since week 6, so it's not that big of a deal in the wideout. And again, like you said, Harold Fannin Jr., that's the big one you got to keep an eye on. Their stud tight end. On the flip side, Arkansas State, not a ton of guys here. Now, defensive end, Jaden Jones, he's in, hasn't played since week 9. Tight end, starting cornerback, backup QB. Other than that, they're going to be ready to roll here. And so when you kind of look at this from an advanced metric standpoint, I think this could be a little bit closer than people think. I'll lay that out there. I mean, 108th in EPA per rush, 99th in EPA per drop back for the Arkansas State offense. Against Bowling Green defense is 111th and 73rd. And on the flip side, Bowling Green's offense 82nd and 69th in EPA per rush and drop back against a defense that's 113th and 93rd. Now, again, you're losing to a lot of your studs that make that happen for Bowling Green. And so that's something to keep an eye on here.
Yeah, Butch Jones 2-4 coming off the bye in his Arkansas State tenure.
Gotta love it. Gotta love old Butch Jones. Let's move along to Friday, December 27th. This is the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. Oklahoma, or the corpse of Oklahoma, takes on Navy, noon Eastern time. This is down in Fort Worth, Texas. Now, let's take a look here because Oklahoma, and I say it tongue-in-cheek, and I really shouldn't be, starting quarterback Jackson Arnold, they're 3 starting wide receivers, all in the portal. They're gone. Signed with Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Maryland. They're starting tight end, signs with Tyson's LSU Tigers. And how about this? Cornerback, center, linebacker, wide receiver, center, wide receiver, wide receiver. They're either all in the portal or injured. Their stud linebacker, Danny Stutzman, is opting out. They have more that potentially could go. I mean, it is wild here. How about Navy? Nobody, like you'd expect.
Yeah, I mean, those guys, they have stuff to do after graduation, so they can't necessarily be hopping between schools like everybody else. This is going to be awesome, dude. This is Brent Venables. And look, I understand everybody on Oklahoma's in the portal. I'm of the belief that the second-string guys at Oklahoma are probably going to be a little bit more talented than the starters at Navy. Venables versus this Navy offense is going to be awesome because it's not quite your traditional service academy offense. There's some more wrinkles and things that Navy does that might be able to give some trouble to Venables and that staff. But this is going to be a high-level chess match between him and, is it Cronin as the Navy offensive coordinator?
I believe so. Yes, Tyson.
But it's going to be fun.
And let's look at this from an advanced perspective here. Oklahoma's offense, 63rd in EPA per rush, 80th in EPA per drop back. Navy's defense not quite as stout as it was 83rd in EPA per rush, 63rd in EPA per drop back. Now, no Jackson Arnold, ton of wide receivers out, a bunch of linemen out. You just really have no clue what you're going to get offensively for Oklahoma. And defensively, their fourth in e-paper rush, 20th in e-paper dropback are the Sooners. And, Venables, defensive guy, it makes sense. Navy's offense, 34th and 33rd in those metrics. So they've been able to move the ball. They've been effective, new offensive scheme that they've been delivering. So very interesting matchup, like Tyson said. Another one, I think this has a chance to be one of the best of the entire bowl season. It's in the Birmingham Bowl. Georgia Tech faces Vanderbilt. This is down at the Protective Stadium, 3:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Tyson, Georgia Tech, man, they're wanting to finish this thing off. Unfortunately, not everybody's ready to stay down there in Atlanta because their stud wide receiver Eric Singleton was in the portal, signed with Auburn. Their starting left tackle is out. Their starting linebacker already is in the portal, signed with somebody different. Their starting safety as well is gone. You got your wide receiver, left tackle, another outside linebacker. They are in the portal. Now, potential opt-out, tight end, and defensive tackle. We'll see what happens with some of their starting cornerbacks who got hurt. And meanwhile, Vanderbilt, they want to finish this thing off right. Now, I think Eli Stowers, their stud tight end, is going to play. He's boys with Pavia. Diego Pavia is back. So he may even come back for another year. Really, the only person that's notable here is Gunnar Hansen, their stud offensive tackle, signed with FSU. So it'll be interesting. But, I mean, there is a lot of motivation for both teams here.
Yeah, it's kind of like a mirror match in the sense that these two teams had some, program-defining wins and some really close ones, like Georgia Tech almost taking down Georgia, and they had a handful of close games against good opponents. And then obviously we know what Vanderbilt did. We know about double-digit underdog Pavia. It just wins games outright, and they had some massive ones. So it's going to be like whoever can put the stamp on this season. This is it probably won't go down in history as the best Georgia Tech season of all time because the 1800s do exist, but it's the best one in quite a while. It might be the best Vanderbilt season ever, though. I don't have the stats to back it up, but it feels that way.
Well, my boy James Franklin, baby, 2 bowl wins there. They haven't done that since Franklin is in Nashville. So they're, Clark Lee's, he's trying to follow up his bald
They
brother.
went 6-6 against Kentucky and Arkansas. They didn't beat Bama.
They went 9-3. I forget what they did, but it was kind of crazy down there. But everybody's like, "Oh, the SEC sucked back then." I'm like, I thought the SEC never sucked. So
no, you're a French fan, dude. You care about wins.
All right, advanced stats here. This is something to note. Georgia Tech offensively 33rd in e-paper rush, 14th in e-paper dropback. Vanderbilt's defense 74th and 71st. So Lee's taken over the defense. Had some issues on that side of the ball. On the flip side, Vanderbilt offensively 43rd and 16th in e-paper rush and dropback, respectively. Georgia Tech, how about this for a split? 22nd in stopping the run on defense, but 76 in defending the pass on an EPA per play basis. So that is certainly interesting. Got some Jekyll and Hyde there for Georgia Tech.
It's going to be a fun game.
Very fun. This one should be interesting. Texas Tech and Arkansas going off at 7 p.m. Eastern time in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. That's going to take place in Memphis. Arkansas, another team that has been decimated by the transfer portal. Starting center, left guard, right guard, starting wideout, starting tight end, starting safety have all entered and found new homes. Linebacker, also gone. Brad Spence, he signed with Texas. Defensive end, running back, tight end, center, cornerback, tight end, all in the portal. Then you got opt-outs already. Stud wideout Andrew Armstrong, their running back Jaquindon Jackson, Landon Jackson at the end, and Eric Gregory. They have like 6 guys on scholarship on the offensive line, Tyson. 6 guys. This is how many scholarships are, it's crazy. They have a new starting center, new starting right guard. It is unbelievable. But on the flip side, Texas Tech also has some guys that went in the portal. 2 starting offensive tackles, their outside linebacker, defensive tackle, wide receiver, and a couple other opt-outs potentially happen, and some injuries that they're dealing with. So there's some quarterback stuff that are interesting. They're going to have a freshman, it seems like, Will Hammond starting that quarterback. So this one, a lot of mystery surrounding the game.
This is a G5 game between 2 Power 4 opponents. That's what this is kind of boiled down to. Texas Tech was supposed to be, 2 years ago was the smoke, and then this year was supposed to be the fire. They were going to come out here and kill everybody. And that's not the way the season ended or worked for them. And now a lot of those guys that were making us think that are not there. This game, I have no idea what to expect because, Brad, I don't know most of these guys. They've fallen out of my head since the high school recruiting days. This is going to be an introduce yourself to the country kind of the game for these two.
Yeah, and I think this is notable here. Texas Tech offensively 23rd in e-paper rush, 44th in e-paper drop back against a defense that's 44th and 69th. And on the flip side, Arkansas actually had a pretty good offense. You still got what's his name? Neck brace. Why am I just blanking on that? Running the offense, Bobby Petrino, who's still pretty good. Talon Green, I believe. So it's an interesting thing there for Arkansas. 31st in e-paper rush, 53rd in e-paper drop back. But again, a ton of opt-outs. The offensive line we have no clue what we're getting. Texas Tech's defense is pretty good. 47th in e-paper rush, 31st in e-paper drop back in these metrics. So that's something to note.
When you said neck brace, I went to bumper pool immediately in my mind.
Bumper pool. You got it. That is a callback. All right. So I got a little graphic issue here, Tyson, but the next one, this is how many times are we going to talk about opt-outs and coaches leaving? Syracuse takes on Washington State. This is at 8 p.m. Eastern in the DirecTV Holiday Bowl taking place in San Diego, California. I'll tell you what, Syracuse is happy to be out there, man. I mean, based on what this weather is, this is a dream come true for them at this point. We know Washington State's coach is gone. Jake Dickert left. He's taken on Wake Forest after saying you got to have loyalty to the program and whatever the hell else he just spouted off. This is a complete clown show. Makes me like him less. Like, if you're going to take a job, quit acting like that. Like,
just take the job.
Starting quarterback John Mateer is out. Starting running back, starting wide receiver, starting right tackle. They're two starting corners, starting linebacker, starting safety, starting defensive tackles, and they're starting punter, all in the transfer portal. That's just to name a few. Got a couple other depth pieces that are in. It's just a ton of people. Now, Syracuse is building, man. Like, they're feeling good. They're excited. Starting cornerback is out, Jaden Bellamy, and he's in the portal. But I think, based on what Fran Brown is saying, everyone is going to play, including Kyle McCord. Now, I don't know why Kyle McCord would opt out. He's got to play this game. It might be his final game ever. So it seemed like we're fired up.
Yeah, it seems like a Syracuse smash spot. To be completely honest with you, Fran Brown, heck of a season. Kyle McCord, heck of a year for him. Really just able to get away from the national media spotlight. And it wasn't until like week 7 when people looked up and were like, oh, he's thrown for 350 yards every week. This is awesome. So good season for them. It kind of feels, like Washington State is lambs to the slaughter here. But with the revenue sharing, there's nobody else in the conference. They got to keep a couple bucks here, and that's okay. Their coach is playing in Frisco, Texas next weekend anyway. So just wait on that news, and that will be coming. I think that Washington State has eyes on a new head coach, and the future is bright there, but it won't be this week.
I'm rooting for that to happen. I think that'd be a great story. And for those who know, Tyson's being a little close to his vest here, but he's got some people telling him that the Montana State head coach is going to take over at Washington State.
Sure seems like Brent Vigen and the Montana State offensive coordinator will be heading to Pullman and being their head coaches. We don't have sources. We are not breaking news. But when this happens, just know that I was the first one to tell you.
There you go. So how about that? Advanced stats-wise, I think this is going to be a little bit more comparable for Syracuse. 41st in e-paper rush, 17th in e-paper drop back against a defense that's 94th and 79th. That's without the opt-outs in mind. An offense for Washington State, 65th and 43rd in rushing and drop back on an EPA basis.
43rd.
Again, no starting quarterback, no running back.
I would have figured they were top 20 in EPA per drop back the way they were slinging this thing throughout the season. But the last month and a half has been a little brutal.
I was going to say, I think that hurt him because I think when we were looking at it before, it was like, wow, look at these numbers. They're like top 25. And yeah, the last month was whoa. Syracuse defense, 59th and 41st. So, gettable, but I just don't know. I just don't know what to expect from Washington State.
Probably not a bunch of points.
Moving along here, Texas A&M and USC. This is in the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl at Allegiant Stadium. Again, why are these guys getting to go to Vegas? It's freaking Texas A&M and not a cold part of Texas, and USC. I mean, really? They get to go to Vegas? Send some of these other poor bastards there. It's completely absurd.
Oh, this needs to be in Idaho or one of the Dakotas or something. This has got to be maybe a Michigan or an Ohio. This got to be up north. We need these guys in the snow. Brad, I don't care what this bowl is actually called. This is nobody cares about our NIL money. These two teams scoring off with each other because they're getting cooked in the transfer portal on both sides.
It is bad, and I'll lay this out here. So A&M starting wideout Cyrus Allen, their inner offensive line, interior Ty Shanahan, offensive guard, defensive end, their backup, who was the original starter, Connor Wigman. He already signed with Houston. How about that? Our boy down there, Willie Fritz, he's starting to build this thing. Got a couple opt-outs, 2 defensive ends, their defensive tackle, their edge rusher, Anaya White. He's already signed with Penn State, so that's a good sign for me. Potential opt-out, Le'Veon Moss, their stud running back, so that's something to note. But that just pales in comparison to what the hell's going on in LA, because starting right tackle, they're 3 starting wide receivers, Kyron Hudson, Deuce Robinson, Zachariah Branch, they are in the portal. Backup running back, Quentin Joyner, he's gone. Starting tight end, he's out. Zion Branch, their safety, their outside linebacker, defensive lineman, offensive guard. Miller Moss was their QB. He's out. Barry Alexander, he just opted out. He just signed with Oregon. It is a whole thing. Not even to mention their starting running back, Woody Marks, and Jalen Smith, their cornerback, they opted out. They're like, screw this. We're out of here. They could get more coming. It is a mess at USC.
No, it's bad. We don't mean to take glee in any of this stuff, but couldn't happen to a nicer guy, a better recruiter than Lincoln Riley. So he'll be fine. He'll get they'll get whoever, but they are getting cooked in the portal. Nobody seems to want to go to USC and play for him. This is what happened. You don't get to make Miller Moss a martyr when it's not his fault the team sucks, and then everybody else dips out. And look, they threw for 500 yards against Notre Dame, so it is a little interesting that those receivers looked around and were just like, I don't want to be here anymore. But this is maybe a bit of an indictment on the culture in Southern California.
And Tyson and I are hoping we get like an NIL expert on here just like for some off-season stuff. I would not be shocked if these agents are like, don't go to California or money's not going to go as long. Like if you get $2 million to go play in freaking Baton Rouge,
Florida,
like that goes a lot longer than going out to LA. I'm just telling you guys that. So with that in mind, let's take a look at these advanced stats. Texas A&M offensively 35th in EPA per rush, 20th in EPA per drop back. It's actually much better than I was expecting. It's a better year offensively for Texas A&M than I thought. USC's defense, you want to talk about improvement, 54th in EPA per rush, 30th in EPA per drop back. Defending it, D'Anton Lynn, just a great hire from Lincoln Riley. Alex Grinch, I can't believe he's getting the freaking job at UCF. It's just a complete sham. Guy's going to get paid $1 million. I could do his job. It's just a complete joke. On the flip side, USC's offense, 11th in EPA per rush, 32nd EPA per drop back. Get that out of your head. That is not how it's going to look. It's going to be interesting. A&M's defense, 17th and 29th in rushing and passing defense on an EPA basis. I'll tell you, there's a couple opt-outs, but a lot of people are staying there, man. And that's what happens. You get a guy at Elko, and he gets his guys there. So I think we're going to see people competing hard for A&M.
Yeah, they're going to be hitting, which is more than I think we can say about USC.
Let's keep them rolling here. This is an interesting one. UConn and North Carolina. It's funny because it's going to be 2 NFL head coaches if Belichick was able to coach this, and Jim Mora. Freddie Kitchens, he was a head coach. He's going to be the interim here since they got rid of Mac Jones. We won't spend too much time on this. UNC is going through a huge transition. They got their starting linebacker, starting wideout, starting left tackle, starting left guard in the portal. They got a couple guys, Murray and Hampton, opting out. Defensive end came on Rutgers. They're already declared for the NFL draft. Could have a couple other guys in the right guard, Willie Lampkin. So we'll see there. UConn, a few of their starters, cornerback, wide receiver, the running back is already out of there, defensive end, and a couple other opt-outs across the offensive line. That could be the case here. Now, from a game perspective, not quite sure. This is just such a weird matchup. Mac Brown's not going to coach. I don't know who's interested. People are going to try to put on tape for UConn. I just don't know if they have the athletes. But just being a little tongue-in-cheek here before we get to you, Steve Belichick, shockingly, takes it over the defensive coordinator job at North Carolina. So Bill got his guy in Steve.
Yeah, I mean, it's about time. The fact that this game is in Boston and he's not allowed to coach this one is a bit ridiculous. Just let him suit up. This is a tryout game. I think you put it on tape if you want to stick around at North Carolina. Great season for Jim Mora and the boys over at UConn. I really think that it was under the radar. It was in the middle of the week all year long, and you kind of looked up and were like, oh, they have 7 wins. They have 8 wins. This is a good football team. kind of gross to watch, and I think this game is going to be kind of gross to watch. Omar Hampton was the show of this whole thing, and he's not playing. So for all of you draft guys out there, I might have a hot take when it comes to the best running back in this draft class, but he is really good, and so hop on YouTube and fire some highlights out.
Yeah, until Nick Singleton declares, and you're going to be right back in on my guy.
That's my boy, though. I can't go against him. You know that.
93rd in EPA per rush, 100th in EPA per pass for UConn against a defense at 76th and 58 in those metrics. North Carolina's offense, 58th EPA per rush, 79th in EPA per drop back. Running game's going to take a hit, that is for sure. Against a defense at 77th and 51st. Let's keep on rolling. And that was on December 28th, I should have pointed out. So that's the first game. It's 11 a.m. Eastern in Boston. Like Tyson said, they're probably so happy they're not freaking playing at night. Or God, that has got to be so cold. I mean, North Carolina, those kids aren't going to want to play in that.
No, UConn's at home.
From one stadium to another, let's go to the Bad Boy Motors Pinstripe Bowl with Boston College versus Nebraska. I think it's funny that you got a Boston team heading down here. It just keeps getting funnier and funnier here, Tyson. But let's look at this. Kind of interesting. Thomas Castellanos, their quarterback for Boston College, lost his job, and he's like, I'm out. He signs with FSU. And that's something to note because Nebraska's defensive coordinator left, and he's going to FSU. So
everybody's
going to FSU. The whole hodgepodge.
Everybody's going to FSU. You've already rattled off like 4 guys that are going to FSU through all the other transfers. We'll see how much it matters a year from now. This is going to be a fun one. This is a momentum builder here for Nebraska. Boston College had a great season, really close to getting one over on Louisville early in the year, close against some other of the better teams that they played. Weren't quite able to get things done all the way throughout. Brad, how many times do we have to watch Nebraska win a first half 28-10 or lose a first half 28-10 to have the game end 28-10? But like if this happens, it will truly go down with those Iowa Kirk Ferentz teams. It's one of the funniest seasons of all time.
Oh, it's just completely ridiculous, Tyson. And Nebraska's been so busy in the transfer portal themselves. I mean, they got their starting linebacker, starting defensive end, starting tight end out. Their running back, Dante Dowdle, other linebacker, three other linebackers who are in the portal. One who signed with FSU. But Nebraska, listen, Matt Rule is bringing some dogs in, though. If you're into that stuff, Matt Rule is bringing some guys in, some big time talent. So that is something to keep an eye on what they're building there. Let's take a look at this from a advanced stats perspective because you guys know how I like to do it. Give you that front. Boston College, 54th in EPA per rush, 51st in EPA per drop back. A lot of that's with Castellanos. Little mobile guy. I know Bill O'Brien didn't quite fit what he was trying to do, but there's a takeaway from the fact that he was pretty effective when he was doing things. Nebraska's defense, though, actually had a really good year. 19th in EPA per rush, 43rd in EPA per drop back. New defensive coordinator. Who knows what happens there? Where Nebraska surprisingly left something to be desired was on offense. 55th in EPA per rush and drop back. Dana Holgerson now is the new OC. We'll see how that bump. I'm not sure. It's been about 4 weeks. They get an extra prep time for this, so who knows? Boston College defensively, 41st in EPA per rush, 62nd in EPA per drop back.
Imagine you don't let your kid go to, Alabama or Georgia or Ohio State because you get a job on staff, and then year 2 they bring in Dana Holgerson, who is not going to fit what your son does very well. Shout out Dylan Raiola. I hope he plays well. I hope he has a good career. But this is really funny.
I mean, you gotta love it. Louisiana and TCU.
Get into the transfer stuff here because if you're not familiar with this thing right now on FanDuel, I think the line is it TCU 12.5 points, 12.5 as the favorite. And if you watch TCU play football this year, you might be thinking to yourself, how the heck are they 12.5 points versus anybody? Yeah,
it's interesting. I mean, this is something interesting because for Louisiana, starting wide receiver, starting tight end, starting linebacker, they're in the portal, backup tight ends in the portal, and the running back. Not a lot of people. But they're starting safety. Tyree Skipper was hurt for the last 4 games. The original starting quarterback, not sure if he's been in. The new starter, Chandler Fields, got hurt in the title game, getting carted off. So there would be a true freshman. That's really what you're keeping an eye on here for Louisiana. If the original, Ben Woolridge, if he's not the starter in this one, it's going to be Daniel Beal, who's the true freshman. So that's why one of the reasons why the line is so big. TCU on the flip side, starting safety, really their only guy of note in the portal. I mean, Cam Cook, he's in the portal as well. They're running back. Opt-outs, wide receiver Josh Beck, Savion Williams. Savion Williams is a huge one. They're dealing with injuries. We'll see what happens there. But this should be a younger TCU team looking to make some noise with Sonny Dykes. I think next year could actually be the play if you're interested in TCU.
Yeah, so go ahead, peep this game, see the momentum, see how this team looks, because this is pretty much what you're going to get a year from now here. And look, dude, it's Sonny Dykes in bowl season. We're going to get some crazy play calls. We're going to get 4 quarterbacks on the field at the same time. It's going to be nuts.
Well, how about this, too? Louisiana is 45th in EPA per rush and 21st in EPA per dropback. Again, the quarterback situation makes that interesting. TCU's defense, 71st in EPA per rush, 50th in EPA per dropback. So if Louisiana could hit on some plays, this could be a fireworks show. Then how about this? You talk about Sonny Dykes. TCU's offense, 56th in EPA per rush, 23rd in EPA per dropback against a defense that's 108th and 64th. TCU might score 60.
I hope so. We're going to need it. Some of these bowl games are going to be snooze fest, I think.
I think this one's going to be a snooze fest next, Tyson, because for the Pop-Tarts Bowl, you got Iowa State facing Miami in a very interesting game that's 3:30 Eastern on ABC. Boy, oh boy, I think we're going to get peak Miami, Tyson, because Cam Ward is saying that he's going to be in. He's going to play. He's not opting out. He could. We're not quite sure. He stated he's going to play. Who freaking knows, honestly. For Iowa State, only 2 guys in the portal, both defensive ends who played less than 150 snaps. Got a couple opt-outs, maybe 2 of their cornerbacks, Darian Porter, Miles Purchase. Purchase would be a huge one. Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins on their wideouts. That's pretty big to me if you're handicapping this one.
In the middle of November, you would have thought this was a playoff game between these two teams. In the middle of November, you would have thought this was going to be a playoff game between Iowa State and Miami. So to hear all of these names that aren't quite playing, it's kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah. Less than I thought, though. I will say, I thought there was going to be way more that were in the portal. And I think, honestly, for Iowa State, Rocco Beck coming back was huge. And I think a lot of guys are like, all right, we can do this. And with the fact that Cam Ward said he was going to play, I think that's bodes well. So, Tyson, this should be a good game.
Yeah, I think, this is a completely off into the weeds thing. But Cam Ward has gained a ton of respect for me, just the way he's gone about this whole thing. The fact that he is, planning to play right now. And this could all change if Antonio Pierce and the Raiders call his agent and say, hey, we can't get any lower than 7th, and we'll give you the guarantee that he's not slipping past there if he doesn't play this game. And then all bets are off. Who knows what happens. But this is a guy that goes from Incarnate Word to Washington State and only transfers to Miami after graduating. He's going to finish out the season at Miami. I am not a Miami guy. I'm not a Cristobal guy, but I do respect the grind and the hustle of Cam Ward, and this game might have 1 billion points in it, brother.
Advanced stats, Iowa State's offense, 21st in EPA per rush, 29th in EPA per dropback. Miami's defense, we are shocked that these are the numbers. 15th in EPA per rush, 19th in EPA per dropback. Are you sure about that? But on the flip side, Miami's offense, both 5th in EPA per rush and pass, really good offense there. Against a defense that's 31st in EPA per rush, 10th in EPA per dropback. So this could be, Tyson, we think it's going to be scoring, this little hint as we get in the money making time at the end. But, man, it could also be like a slugfest because, it seems like everybody's trying to win this game. They're off and in.
I mean, this is 18 versus 13, and this used to be like, oh, this is a January 1st matchup.
From one Miami to the other, let's go to the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. This is going to be down in Arizona, the stadium.
Presented by who?
Snoop Dogg.
Presented by Gin and Juice. I believe that's the whole thing. Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl presented by Gin and Juice by Dre and Snoop.
There we go. Tyson getting the sponsor in. That's right. We got you, Snoop. We got you, Dre. Miami, Ohio State on Colorado State. 4:30 p.m. This is on the CW. How about the CW getting in to this one? Shout out to Snoop Dogg and the CW. This is hilarious. But, you got some guys, kind of what you do from the MAC. You get poached by some of these top teams. That's what's happening to Miami, Ohio. Starting left tackle, starting wide receiver, Will Jadis and Reggie Virgil. They both signed with Texas Tech. Their other starting wideout, Javon Tracy, signed with Minnesota. Top cornerback committed to Auburn. So that's the whole thing there. Other than that, you got to opt out from Cade McDonald and the right tackle, Reed Holsky. So I think that's pretty big. A couple other guys didn't play in the championship game, which could hurt them. Colorado State, not too much. Only 4 guys, really. starting linebacker, 2 starting defensive ends, and their starting wide receiver, Caleb Goody, who's actually was productive, who signed with Cincinnati. So that's really what you're looking at here.
Yeah, and Colorado State has some really, really fun pieces on offense. So that's something to monitor here. Miami of Ohio has been an interesting team to watch. They're another one of those teams that I was talking about, but they're on in the middle of the week. So, you get home from work, you flip on YouTube TV or whatever the game's on, and you kind of find yourself hate watching it a little bit. I am surprised this team is even in a bowl game, let alone the season that they had was pretty impressive. Honestly, I haven't had very much fun watching them, but this one is either going to be 3-0 or 35-34.
That's how it feels like to me too. And it looks like it's the latter on paper, which scares me even further because Miami, Ohio's offense, they're 104th in EPA per rush, 68th in EPA per dropback. So you're like, oh, that offense sucks. But they're going against a defense that's 73rd and 107th in both those metrics. So like what Miami sucks at doing, Colorado State's good at defending, and what they suck at defending, Miami's good at doing. Like it's just a complete mess. Then on the flip side, Colorado State's offense, 84th in EPA per rush, 67th in EPA per dropback against the defense at 65th and 45th. So kind of the same thing. Oh, we're good at this. Oh, that's what you're good at. You're like Tyson said, it's hard to gauge, especially with the MAC team, especially with this Colorado State team who's supposed to be good and be competitive, and it just did not happen for them.
No, they didn't. They lost some of the media shine that they had 2 years ago.
Let's go bowling, Tyson, because we're going to head to Annapolis, Maryland for the Gold Bowling Military Bowl between East Carolina and NC State. How about 2 North Carolina teams just going up north to Maryland and facing each other 5:45 p.m. Eastern on ESPN? It should be an interesting game because NC State lost their defensive coordinator to Marshall. So how about, just this little handing around here, go to West Virginia, leave the state, they're fleeing. I don't know what's going on, but ECU gave took the interim tag off of Blake Harrell after firing Mike Houston, named him the full-time head coach. Not a lot of guys in the portal, which is surprising for East Carolina. Now they're starting wide receiver Chase Soule, he's gone. He signed with Iowa State, so that's something notable. They're starting cornerback Isaiah Brown Murray, starting linebacker. Their defensive lineman signed with Wake Forest, CJ Mims. So that's something to note. Plus, their best cornerback is out for the year. He tore his ACL. The other wide receiver, Winston Wright, potentially opting out. Now, NC State, this is the notable one. Stud, KJ Concepcion, wide receiver. He is in the portal. I don't think he's going to play. And they got 3 potential opt-outs that people are keeping an eye on. It could be coming since one is on the defensive side and 2 are on the offensive line as they get ready potentially for the NFL draft.
This is the point of bowl season, is that we can have these matchups that, you're never going to get between guys who share a state, and you can get a little bit of juice behind it. These Carolina guys, they didn't get recruited by North Carolina State, and they want to go out there and send a message, and the North Carolina State guys that are sticking around are like, no, this is not how this works. I didn't even open my offer letter from East Carolina, let alone even think about going there. And you've watched more East Carolina than me, so I'll defer to you here on this. You got the family ties and all of that, plus you played them. It feels like in every single week that we had a betting show, but these are the matchups that make me excited. This is a little state rivalry. This is fun.
It should be fun. And these stats don't really do it justice after the head coaching change. ECU's offense, 72nd EPA per rush, 103rd in EPA per dropback. They changed the head coach, and that offense was freaking like, whoa, is this the greatest show on turf type of deal? Like, they were putting up points. It was crazy. Didn't think they had it in them. Defensively, though, NC State, 61st in EPA per rush, 59th in EPA per dropback. Again, you're losing your defensive coordinator. He's gone. He's took the head coaching job. He's out of the picture. NC State's offense, this is where they got into trouble, really, this season. Just weren't quite able to move the ball. 81st in EPA per rush, 89th in EPA per dropback. You lose Concepcion. That's going to be a huge thing. East Carolina defensively, 66th in EPA per rush, 108th in EPA per dropback. Like, losing their, people are talking about cornerback 1, and you lose him 3 games into the year. That's going to hurt. I think they've done a little bit better job late in the year, but it's still just a leaky unit through the air. I don't know if NC State's going to be able to take advantage of it, though.
I mean, that feels like the story of their season a little bit.
Yeah, that is pretty much the case, Tyson. That's for sure. So that'll be a good one, little state rivalry game. Let's go to am I missing this? What's going on here? I'm not sure why this is not on here. Oh, there it is. I am scrolling past. BYU, Colorado, Valero Alamo Bowl. This is in San Antonio. Awesome setting for this. Two Big 12 teams. This should be interesting, man. I mean, this could have been potentially the conference title game between the two. Deion Sanders says that everybody for Colorado who could potentially opt out is playing. So that includes Shedeur Sanders, Jimmy Horn, LaJohntay Webster, Will Shepard, Travis Hunter, like 4 weapons. I mean, if they're not out, good luck. Now, they've had 3 guys in the portal. Their starting linebacker, Hill Green, he's already committed somewhere. I'm not quite sure where. Their other linebacker, Trevor Woods, and then Deion Hayes. But there is momentum here for Colorado. They did a really good job in the portal. And so Deion, he said he's staying. So that's huge here. Now they got some injuries they have to deal with. But on the flip side, BYU, they're banged up. They got a couple guys in the portal. They're starting defensive tackle and safety, backup linebacker, backup safety, wide receiver who got hurt towards the end, and then seldom used running back. So this screams competitive matchup here between two Big 12 foes looking to go in the right direction.
And this should have been left as a hypothetical matchup that we were talking about in November as these guys, is this going to be the conference title game? I don't like bowl games on conference. I get it now. There's 40 teams in every conference, and so we have to do this. Split them up. Like, let BYU play Bama, Colorado plays Michigan, something like that. I mean, this is – to me, I hate these ones. Another step here for Colorado, right? Deion comes out and kind of says, I want to plant my flag in Boulder. I want to be here for a long time. And then earlier today, the news comes out that they're getting the disability insurance or whatever it's called. As far as if you get hurt, you're covered here for Colorado, which is just another little thing to monitor. Like, oh, they're trying to become a real deal program because that's something that the big schools do. And Brad, you and I have lost every BYU bet that we've been on this season. So why not one more time?
Why not one more time? If we back them, they screw us. If we go against them, they screw us even harder. This should be a fun one. I'm excited. I'm with you, though. I saw this matchup. I'm like, man, it'll be fun. I think it'll be good. But why couldn't Colorado play like, I don't know. I'm trying to go through it. Like if they played Miami or something, or if they
would have
played,
been that's the
Iowa
one.
State.
Yeah, that Miami matchup was the one I think everybody had circled and was excited for, and so college football did what they do.
Yeah, and I said Iowa State like they're not in the Big 12 too. So regardless, I said Miami first, though. Damn it! All right, let's close out the Saturday, December 28th slate here. Louisiana Tech facing Army. Now this is interesting because Marshall opted out of this game. It was supposed to be them, but they had so many.
Is that going to be a trend now?
I'm not sure. Well, they had the head coaching change, and they had like 27 guys in the portal, and it was like we can't field a competitive team. It was super weird, but I mean, the athletic department went to the coaching staff. Was like, "Do you think this is a good idea?" They said no. I don't think it's going to be a trend, Tyson, unless there's like a huge exodus here. But I was pretty surprised that they opted out. I'll tell you.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I mean, Florida State couldn't field a competitive team all year long, and Norvell didn't close up shop.
I mean, he might as well have, dude. Did you see him on the sideline?
He can make $5 million.
Louisiana Tech in the portal. Their stud defensive tackle, David Blay, starting cornerback, starting defensive end. They have a safety, backup quarterback. So it's really those 3 guys. David Blay spurned Penn State, even though he's a Pennsylvania guy, for the second time. He went to Miami, so that was something that I was a little bit tweaked about. Now, Army had a transfer. What are you talking? What? Kanye Udo, their stud sophomore running back, gone over 1,000 yards in both years, or 1,000 yards his freshman year, just missed it this year. He's in the portal. He committed to Arizona State. What? You want to talk about a complete lifestyle change? You go from West Point and the structure Army to freaking Tempe, Arizona, and like whatever the debauchery goes on there. Like, it's crazy.
I mean, he just was looking around. He's like, I can't go somewhere where the quarterback's going to steal 17 rushing touchdowns from me. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, Army's banged up too. Their edge rusher out, starting nose tackle. He got hurt in the Navy game, or I guess he did play in the Navy game, but the backup got injured and he missed the AAC. So this would be interesting. Army won the AAC championship game, then went and lost to Navy. So like this would be a nice way to kind of cap everything that took place this season for them, because this is the chance to be the most successful year in program history if they win 12 games. So I think they're going to be ready for it. How about this? Louisiana Tech on offense. This is disgusting. 130th knee paper rush, 117th knee paper drop back against a defense that's 28th and 47th in those metrics. Okay. Now, here's where it gets scary. Army's offense is 10th in EPA per rush, 8th in EPA per dropback against a defense that's 104th and 89th. Like, everybody's kind of down on Army a little bit. Oh, they didn't play good against Navy. Navy knows how to attack them. Like, it's an Army-Navy game. No matter what it is, it's going to be tight. It's going to be close. It's going to be interesting. But if you're not prepared for this triple option and you already suck at defending the run and you lose your best defensive lineman, good luck.
2 weeks isn't enough time to prep for this. These guys didn't even know they were in the game, until a couple weeks ago. This is a nice opportunity for Army to put a stamp on the end of the season here for them. But is that going to be one of the most painful banners to hang up? Conference champions, 12 wins, all that stuff, and you still lost to Navy.
It will be. That's the only game that matters, they say every single year. Tyson, let's close out part 2. We've gone a ton of stuff. We'll be back after this game, which is taking place Monday, December 30th. This is Iowa versus Missouri in the Trans-Perfect Music City Bowl down there in Nashville, Tennessee. Now, to me, this is – you send Iowa to this game because I know they don't deserve nice things because they are just a terrorist organization on football, and they need to be put down because of the National Guard, the Army. There. It's bad. But – this is the matchup this is what bowl games are about. 2 just underperforming, disgusting offenses facing off in Nashville.
This is disgusting. I mean, this is like the most disappointing team of the season for a lot of us in the Missouri Tigers. And Luther Burden's not playing, the stud wide receiver. He's got his eyes set on Sundays, and he's probably going top 25 in the draft. We'll see kind of where that shakes out. He could go top 10 for all we know. He shows up to the combine and puts on a show. Brady Cook, we'll see what happens there. A little disappointed in my boy Eli Drinkowitz this season. I expect them to bounce back a little bit. Defense left a lot to be desired, and Texas A&M kind of figured it out for the rest of the country. You just have to run the football against this team. But Brad, what does Iowa do on offense?
Well, Cade McNamara is gone. I mean, after they were just freaking woo. Cade McNamara is looking like freaking Joe Marino or Dan Marino and Joe Montana combined. I was like, yeah, he sucks. I mean, we kind of knew that. They don't really care, Tyson. They just run the football, so it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we don't have many sicko games left. This is definitely one of them. Might be appointment viewing for me. This is a chance that I might make a bad decision and go to the book and bet both these teams team total under.
Oh, you are a sick freak, and you love that too. Like that's your wet dream. Like if that actually happens, you're like, I'm doing it. Give me a line, and it's gonna be something disgusting, like 9.5, like a field goal and a touchdown is dead.
And I'm smashing it. I'm going way under.
All right, so I'll wrap things up here. Then we'll get into our bets. Tyson mentioned Luther Burden opting out. Their right tackle also did as well, and they got their starting wideout, Mekhi Miller, one of their guys, in the transfer portal. That's really it, though. They're pretty injured. Starting center is out for the year. That was brutal. Another wide receiver, Mookie Cooper, he last played in week 8. So that's the thing. I think Theo Weiss, Tyson, I think he's going to opt out as well, if I'm being honest here from Missouri. I think Brady Cook is going to play. So that's something to note. I mentioned Cade McNamara. Their backup, Marco Lanes, is also in there. Opting out, starting running back, Caleb Johnson. Huge for Iowa. I mean, he's a freak. He might make our top 5 in our draft coverage. Like, I think he's a stud. Also, their starting cornerback, Mari Harris, is also opted out. So I think it'll be interesting here because Kirk Ferentz said that Jackson Stratton or Brendan Sullivan they're going to be competing during these few weeks to see who's going to be the starter. So they got another week to determine that. It's just going to be gross no matter what. I mean. If they go with if they go with Brendan Sullivan, Tyson, or if they go with Jackson Stratton, he's not even on a freaking scholarship. Only Sullivan's the one. So this is just peak bowl season.
This is gross, and I love it.
And I'll wrap it up here with just some advanced stats for those of you who want to be sickos. Iowa's offense, 20th in EP per rush. That is going to take a hit without Caleb Johnson. They're 98th in EPA per dropback. Just perfect. Chef's kiss. Missouri defensively, 20th in EPA per rush, 35th in EPA per dropback. Good defense really kept them in the game. That's something to note. Iowa defensively, 35th in EPA per rush, 13th in EPA per dropback. Missouri offensively, they say they're 17th in EPA per rush, 37th in EPA per dropback. The Miami numbers and these numbers, I'm looking at these every single time. Like, I just don't buy it.
No, I mean, that's maybe in the SEC I could get behind it.
Maybe. Yeah. It just, offense left something to be desired. Okay. That's a lot of stuff. That is a lot of information. Go back and listen to it. Things are bound to change. You wanted to get this for you as you're kind of listening before Christmas. Get this on your radar. As we want to hang out with our families, but we want to get some early picks in too. So that's what we're going to do here, Tyson, as we get ready for it. Let me see if I can find this. God, they did an update on here. All right, here we go. You know what time it is, ladies and gentlemen.
It's money-making time.
And we're freaking all over the place because my headphones break before we come on here. But that does not mean that we can't pick winners. I'm going to start with Navy plus 3.5 minus 122 on FanDuel. If it goes to 3, which I think it is, FanDuel is the rogue one here. I'm comfortable playing with that. If you guys listen to this when it's 3 across the board, I take it to 3. For sure, anything below that, I'm staying away. Just Oklahoma, just so decimated. I don't know. Like, are the guys who are going to be sticking behind ready to play? That could be the case. Their backups could be better. But again, Navy's defense or their offense is hard to corral. Brent Venables, he's a great defensive mind. He can maybe do something here, throw some different looks. But I think Navy's ready to beat Oklahoma. Like, they want to do it. And this is an opportunity that they can go out there, make a statement, beat one of the blue bloods of the sport, and cap off a season for them that was good and expected to be really good. They closed with a win against Army, and why did Spell close with one against Oklahoma? So give me the points.
I'm going to start it off here with Toledo plus 7.5 in this game against Pittsburgh. We talked about it like an hour ago. Go back and listen. And I do want to give a little disclosure here to the people. We're sorry for these lines changing so much. We're trying to get out ahead of it early. This thing might close at 5. It might close at 9.5. I don't know which way it's going. So I'm in here at 7.5. I think this is a low-scoring slog. The under is definitely a look. But give me Toledo with the points here.
And this will be released on the 24th. So there'll be a couple more days of a buffer. And again, these lines could change. We like these where these are. We'll kind of tell you the range. So if it's in that range, if you want to hit us up in the comments too, or if you want to, contact us on social media, that's what we're here for. But yeah, we're trying to give you numbers that we'll play. And if it moves a lot, like, we're not saying, oh, go bet this now. I'll tell you one. I think this is going to change. We're going to take Vanderbilt money line plus 118 at Caesars. This is the best line in the market. I think there's a chance this flips to the point where it's almost a pick 'em. I don't think people are paying attention enough to what's going on in the portal with Georgia Tech. I mean, they lose their best player in Eric Singleton, and a couple other guys, right? Like, it's Georgia Tech. They're some of these older guys looking for a different place to play their final season of college football. And yes, it's been a good run. Haynes King, I think, was a dog in that Georgia game. That's the lasting image that we have, and he's been really good for them this year. But Vanderbilt's fired up, man, and they're healthy, and they're ready to go, and they're focused on winning and having the first winning season in over a decade. Diego Pavia is ready to rock. I'm going to take a money line. I think there's a point where we get to this and we look at like, they got too many difference makers missing from Georgia Tech. So I'm going to take the plus money here with Vandy.
And I'm like a game behind Brad throughout most of this thing here, so bear with me. But I'm going the other side in the Oklahoma Navy game, -3 here. I think Michael Hawkins can run the option better than Navy's done it all season long, and I think Oklahoma's just going to say, "Oh, we can do that, but out of the shotgun." I think they have better athletes, and we've been on Navy like nonstop this season, so maybe it's a little bit of a reverse jinx here. But I do think that Oklahoma is just going to out-athlete them.
And I'll throw this back to you then, Tyson, because I know you're on the same play that I just gave out.
Yeah, I'm on Vanderbilt money line as well. Pretty much the same thing that you laid out, and I agree. I think they're going to close as the favorites, brother.
It'll be interesting to keep an eye on. That's something to know. Like, we're trying to take the plus money now, so get that in while you can. We're trying to beat CLV here, folks. And this next one, I think we're going to do it. Texas Tech money line plus 104. That's on FanDuel. Arkansas's got a ton of opt-outs. That, again, is this a thing where the guys staying behind, we're motivated, ready to go? Potentially, but they weren't very good with those guys on the team. Texas Tech, similarly, didn't quite have the year they're looking for. They got a couple of their guys that are, leaving Lubbock and we're looking for greener pastures. So why wouldn't it work that way for Texas Tech too? Like, why does the guy stay behind, ready to compete and play? Give me Texas, man. Texas Tech. I think nobody really knows what's going to happen here, so I'll take the plus money. And what's a pick 'em game?
It is not money-making time in college football if Brad doesn't have at least one Texas school that he is backing. I'm going with the under in Boston College in Nebraska. That line is set at 45.5 on FanDuel -110. These are two under wagons. Like every time you see them, you start thinking about it, depending on who they're playing, and they get a face-off against each other. This one might be a slog. Boston College looking to replace a quarterback, and Nebraska is incapable of beating anybody by 3 scores here, so I'm going with the under.
I think this, if you want to talk about 3 scores, we need this. I'm laying the wood with Syracuse. It's -16, -117 on DraftKings. They're fired up. They want to play. Kyle McCord, last college game, I think he wants to go out in style. Once upon a time, his 5-star kid from Philly going to Ohio State, people thought maybe first rounder, right? Like if you're a 5-star, that means you're one of the 32 best kids in the country. People think they're projecting you to be one of 32 picks by when it's your time to come out for the NFL draft. That's how you get 5-star status. If you're kind of wondering how that happened, that's how the rating system works. It hasn't worked out, right? He had to leave Ohio State, went to Syracuse, showed his talent. He's throwing the ball around. I think he led the country in passing yards. Syracuse doesn't have a ton of opt-outs. Fran Brown says, we don't opt out here. Like, that's not what we do. All right, baby, let's go. Let's get it going. I think they blow them out. Washington State, interim coach, head coach is gone, bunch of players gone. This is going to be an ass whooping.
All-time sliding doors moment in college football is Fran Brown not coaching Temple. That was rumored a year ago. He'd fit in so perfect. They wouldn't even be having rumors about shutting this whole thing down. I'm going with Miami, Florida, to win the game here, -3.5 on FanDuel. Look, I understand Iowa State's a really good team, but they had a heck of a slide to end the season. Oh, so did Miami. But I think Miami's motivated. Miami has a guy here that's showing out a little bit. I think Cam Ward's saying, hey, it's gotten a little quiet with my name as the #1 pick in this NFL draft thing. Carson Beck is out for the season. Nussmeier and Aller are back to school. Shedeur Sanders, we'll see what happens there. We're already getting rumors, his dad says he can't play here. I don't buy any of that stuff. But what I do buy is that Cam Ward puts a stamp to the end of his college football career here. And he's going to go down as like one of my favorite players. He's going to be one of the answer to a lot of trivia questions, in 20 years.
I'll stick with the theme here just so we're on the same page. I'm going to go the over 55.5 in this one. I think that's pretty widely available. So I don't have a specific book on here if you're watching on YouTube. So go find it. But I think I'd play this up to, I don't know, what's the key number here? I don't know. A couple points here and there. I think there's going to be a ton of points, though. Maybe up 60. I don't know if it's going to move that much. But I think Rocco Beck's going to be able to move the ball on Miami's defense. I think Miami's going to score a ton of points. I know this defense is good for Iowa State, but, good offense beats good defense. And that's what Miami's been putting on the field every single time. Going back to the Syracuse game, I think that has a chance to move up a lot. Anything under 21 to me is playable for Syracuse. I know that's a lot of points, but I think they're motivated and they're ready to go.
And my last play of this show here, I am atoning for my sins, Brad. I am taking BYU. I understand that was an accidental pun, and that's not what I meant. +170 here on the money line against DraftKings. We have been so anti-BYU, and they have spited us whenever they could. And I've also been really pro-Colorado all year long. And it felt like as soon as we, started putting the money on that, it was good. And then all of a sudden it got bad real quick. So I'm going to catch a middle here. I'm fine with Colorado winning the game, but I'm not losing another BYU bet. And I have to play something here.
I love it. This is classic Tyson thinking. This is classic bowl game stuff. And for me, I got 2 more plays left. I'm going to go Texas A&M -3.5, -108 on DraftKings. I'm not quite sure if this moves a lot. I'm surprised it's 3.5. So. A&M, as I laid out, they don't have a ton of guys in the portal. USC has a ton. And even the returning guys for USC, Texas A&M is going to be able to compete. They're the SEC talent here. I play it up to 5. I think, 1.5 points here, you're kind of getting on the margins. I think this is going to be one of the sharper games, especially because, it's out in Vegas. And so you're going to have a lot of guys, especially coming from LA, to make this trip. A bunch of Texas money coming up too. Those boosters love putting money down on this A&M program. They're going to be ready to throw it around in Vegas. So this will be one of the sharper lines, I believe, of bowl season. That's just me making a prediction. So I'm going to lay it with A&M, try to get this number here. And lastly, I'm laying it with Army, -16.5, -112 on DraftKings. I think they're going to absolutely blitz Louisiana Tech. I play this up to frickin' 21. I mean, I don't even care. Whatever this number is, and I'm getting it in a nice key number, I'm playing it. I mean, I know there's going to be fewer possessions. Doesn't matter to me. Bryson Daly You think he wants to go out the way he just
No.
went out against Navy? No way. He's going to take out his frustration on Louisiana Tech. Good luck. Let's go, land troops. Let's beat some ass.
Yeah, and I can't be on this one because every time Brad and I joint played the service academies, they got shellacked. So I am doing this out of respect for Brad, out of respect for my country. You say that you're good up to 21 here. You might be good up to 31. I think Army rolls.
Now, folks, we went through and previewed a ton of games. We didn't bet every single game. Now, that doesn't mean we might not play. I mean, we don't want to say, well, we're betting this live. Like, whatever. Freaking put your money where your mouth is. And where do we do that, Tyson? Because we're playing stuff all the time.
We do it in the Discord app. Link is in the bio. Group name is I Said What I Said. Tons of different channels in there. Not only do we have live bets, but Brad, we don't give out hedges on the show. We give out plays. And so if there are things that we're thinking about, or leans or things like that, those are going to be in the Discord app because we have a whole nother week to get there and wrap our minds around what we want to play. We've got some people rolling it in the NFL. We got some people throwing college basketball bets down, soccer, NHL, NBA, whatever you can think of, we're playing it, so we want to know what you're playing too.
And like, subscribe, and share the show. It's a busy time of the year. I know, holiday stuff. We hope, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, all that good stuff to everybody out there, whatever you celebrate. We got you covered here. That's why you got to stay subscribed, whether it's NFL, whether it's college stuff, whether you're getting ready for basketball season. We cover it all, draft stuff. We know we're going to do a bunch more stuff. So that's why you got to stay subscribed. Smash that like button on the way out. We know this is a long video, so if you're here, we do appreciate it. Share it with a friend, share it with an enemy, however you do it. It doesn't matter to us. We appreciate the support. We will be back breaking down what we just saw in the NFL. And then later in the week, we'll be giving out more NFL plays. So it's a loaded week for us here. By the time, no, not yet. Okay, so thank you guys for listening. We'll talk to you all soon. Peace.